All right, we'll go 3, 2, and 1. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Persuasion by the Pint. I'm Jonathan Taylor, along with
Sean McCool.
Sean. Today, we're going to go over some stuff some takeaways from Funnel Hacking. What is it? Funnel Hacking Live 2022?
Yep, Funnel Hacking Live 2022. The hashtag, if you're looking for even more insights, is FHL 2022. A lot of people were hashtagging, so if you want to see some more stuff, that'd be a good place to go find more stuff on the interwebs. Lots of selfies, I'm sure, as well, if you want to just sort through all the people that were there.
Oh, yeah.
5,000 people in Orlando. And I'm going to share with you, and this was a closed door event. You know, I think all the tickets were $1,000. So this was, it was a big event, but still most of the people in the world were not there. So that's why we're calling it behind closed doors.
Behind closed doors.
Even though
you won't get this kind of information anywhere else.
No,
especially if you weren't there.
Except for the 500 or 1,000 other podcasters that were there, probably sharing the same ideas. But hey, you won't get it in this form, in this delivery, while drinking beer. That's for sure.
So were you completely exhausted by the, last day?
So it was Wednesday through Saturday, 4 days, 3.5. So Wednesday started at like 11 or noon, something like that. And it went till 9 o'clock each night, plus any social hanging out at the bar or whatever you wanted to do. So by day 2, I swear I'd been there for a week. Like by the end of day 2, I was already just exhausted. But then I got a second wind and felt better Friday and Saturday. But yeah, that Thursday night, I was just exhausted. I had to go back and decompress. And, for an introvert like me, it was like that was a lot of people, a lot of lights, a lot of music. So yeah.
Getting everybody, jumping around and fired up. And
dude, it was like a rock. They call it a rock concert for entrepreneurs, and that's kind of what it felt like.
Yeah.
So
what's crazy is, like you've said before, a lot of those people were leaving straight from there and then heading down to Miami, right? For the traffic. Was it traffic?
Well, I think Traffic and Funnels was in San Diego. There was another event that I saw that was happening in Miami a couple days later. But a lot of people were going to Traffic and Funnels, I think, out in San Diego right after the week. So we're in conference season again now that the world is opened back up, and
these
conferences everywhere. So that's good to see. Good to see. Well, why don't we get started? I've got a short day because I've got to pick up a friend from the airport.
All right.
But let's talk about our beverages. I've got a good one today. I'm pleasantly surprised. It's right in theme with the old Oktoberfest, since we are October 7th as recording this. And I think you've got something similar as far as seasonal.
It's pumpkin time, man. It's pumpkin time.
So mine's not pumpkin, but it is, I think, Oktoberfesty-ish, sort of. But it's called a Pretzel Stout.
Oh, okay.
So get this, Pretzel Stout, limited release white chocolate. So I was it's 8% alcohol by volume. It's local, up in Fort Worth, local company. It is, Martin House Brewing, made in Texas by Texans. That makes it sell better when you say that.
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
So pretzel. So check this out. I poured it a little bit earlier to let it breathe a little bit.
Oh man,
look at that. That's a stout, but it's amber. And if you look really close, there's something floating.
The bubbles.
Those aren't bubbles.
Oh, those aren't bubbles. Okay, there's something. Is that just solid stuff?
That's solids. This is the second week in a row we've been talking about solids. I don't know what those are.
Solids are floating,
and I don't know if they're usually in stouts and you just can't see them.
You got some extra.
I got a
material there.
Yeah, it's like a Cracker Jacks. I got a little extra surprise inside. I'm not sure what's going on there. I was shocked when I poured it from the can. It was this color. I was not expecting that because I thought a stout would be black or brown.
Yeah, so, I would think too. That's a little light.
It's a little more pretzel colored, which maybe that's where it got its name. So I learned something new every day about beer. What do you have over there?
So I have an atomic pumpkin. Let's add this here. The Voodoo Ranger Atomic Pumpkin. This is their seasonal release, or it's a spicy. They say a spicy special release this time of year. So yeah, I don't know what to expect now. I gotta say that in terms of the some of these New Belgium, the Voodoo Ranger. I mean, some of these beers they do aren't that bad because they do a lot of IPAs, and
Yeah.
actually the few that I've had, or at least I think the Imperial IPAs aren't that bad. So
Yeah, Voodoo is one of the bigger craft brew houses for sure.
oh yeah, and I gotta hand it to. I mean, they have some of the best artwork on their cans, so that's always captures the eye. But I'm looking forward to trying this. You know, the pumpkin. Let's see if I can hold this up. Let me take this off the screen. This is a 6.4%?
Yeah, so we both got a little pumpkin color going on today.
Yep.
So that's right in theme.
Yeah. I'm excited. I had a little I think this is going to pair nicely. I had a little moon pie before the show started.
All right.
This time of year, I would love to have
a southern moon pie. Huh? Southern moon pie, right?
Yes, the southern moon pie.
It's not a Pennsylvania moon pie. It's different for those of you who might be outside of our area.
You know, it'd be good though this time of year where everything, you go to all of these events like the carnivals and things like that, where everything's fried, deep fried. Have you ever had is there such thing as a I'm sure there is a deep fried moon pie.
Oh, there's got to be. I mean, there's deep fried Oreos. So there's got to be
deep fried Oreos, deep fried butter. I mean, I think I would like
deep fried Coke, Coca-Cola, deep fried Coca-Cola. So I don't know how you do that, but it's a thing.
Well, if you can deep fry Coke, you can deep fry beer.
Yeah. Sounds like a line from a movie. If you can deep fry a Coke, you can deep fry a beer.
I will find out, and we will let you know if you can deep fry a beer.
All right. We're going to try that. All right. Well, cheers. Let's
cheers.
This up.
Episode. Yep.
I already had a few sips, so I've already got my rating in mind. This is one of the most unique beers I've had to date. Now, the audience is wondering, does the unique mean good, or does unique mean not so good?
Could be either. Okay.
Could be a pleasant way to say it's terrible.
Yeah.
Like a realtor or something. It's cozy. It's not small. All right. So I'm going to give mine. Mine is really good. I don't know all the notes. It didn't have any copy on the can to tell me what the notes are. It's not on their website. But definitely a little of that white chocolate. I don't taste any pretzel. I don't know where that's coming from. But I definitely taste the white chocolate. Probably what the chunks are in here. But I'm going to give this, it's really, really good. So I'm going to give it a 4.9.
A 4.9. Oh, man, that's teetering.
That's right there. Not quite, but
I might have to give that a...
It's like a very quick applause.
Golf clap. Yeah, we'll give him a golf clap.
There you go.
Very
nice.
We got a single clap.
Yeah.
Well, mine is a big disappointment. So this is an atomic disappointment.
We need a womp womp sound on your board there.
You've heard me talk. Nope, that's wrong. I always hit that one.
You like running those ads, man.
I'm relentless. I got ad buttons all over here. No, this is disappointing. I don't know if it's having something a little sweet beforehand, but this is completely flat.
That could be then.
Completely flat.
Yeah. So you need to keep drinking. See if that cleanses the palate.
Yeah, I'm going to give it, as it stands now, this is like a 2.5. It's not impressive.
It's tough.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on. I've got the
notes.
Got my notes in my never nicotine stand fingers.
These aren't the official. These are the handwritten notes.
These are the handwritten Sean's notes. And Sean was not a great note taker in high school. So,
I can tell. I'm trying to read your handwriting as we speak.
Yeah. But these are the abbreviated version I gave for you for the show notes.
Yep.
So the first thing we're going to talk about, which was kind of a big part of the whole thing, from the ClickFunnels, man. There's a site. ClickFunnels sell chicken equipment. All these backyard gardeners, ClickFunnels.
ClickFunnels.
All right. Got to be careful when you say
That's
that too many times.
The poultry industry, we giving them ideas already.
Yes. No, one thing they talked about, ClickFunnels bought GKIC, Dan Kennedy's newsletter company, or apparently it's passed through a lot of people, and Dan is not the one that's been buying it back. It's just getting passed from person to person.
Yeah,
is the way Russell told the story. And then every person that buys it has to renegotiate with Dan for him to write in the newsletter.
You're kidding. Wow.
Yeah.
So he's man,
he just keeps
crazy.
upping his fees and his, all that stuff. So, but anyway, one of the things
so let's explain. So somebody buys it and they have to bring him in just to, I guess, to
he's the voice of the newsletter. So if they want him to write the articles in the newsletter, or stand behind it, then he's got a certain fee to write the letter. He's got a certain fee to do calls. If you want him to come to an event, it's a 1 day or 2 day or whatever fee. Like all that, you have to negotiate all that after you buy the actual newsletter. Then you got to negotiate with Dan and all that stuff. So Russell told a little bit of that story. But one thing they were talking about was what they call, and they called this internally at Dan Kennedy's company, the MIFKI. And apparently when they were trying to figure out, okay, what do we want to do with GKIC? And, they brought the former employees in and they kept talking about the MIFKI. The MIFKI's the thing that worked the best.
Right.
So you're like, well, what's a MIFKI? And it's the most incredible free gift ever is what a MIFKI is. That's the initials for most incredible free gift ever. And if you followed Magnetic Marketing or GKIC for any period of time, then they always have this huge stack of stuff that you get when you sign up for the newsletter.
Right.
So that's the MIFKI. So there's a lot of talk about if you don't have a MIFKI with your offer, something that's really an incredible free gift, you're missing out. So we've talked about offer and stuff, but this over the top kind of offer with lots of stuff in it. This one's got $19,000 if you do a free trial, you get all this stuff. They're actually combining 2 newsletters. Here's all the stuff, and then you get all these gifts, right? You get Magnetic Marketing on Demand, you get the Brass Balls Factor course, you get the Renegade Millionaire course, time management system, the Midas Touch course. All of this, if you'll just say maybe, the gift is yours for free. And you get some hard copy books. You get a swipe file book. You get a copy of Magnetic Marketing. It's all just $29.95 to cover shipping and handling. And then you get 30 days free of the newsletter. And then of course you start getting billed. I think it's $97 a month. So So Russell started showing how when they started putting MIFKIs on all their other funnels, which they'd already done some, it just continued to increase conversions by adding this, which makes sense, right? Because offer is more important than copy.
Right.
It's offer, list, copy in that order as far as what matters most, what's most important. So that was just good to kind of hear, that's still working. It's not going to stop working.
Sure.
And what's interesting is they kind of dove deeper into it. It's like a lot of this stuff is just pulled out of your library of content.
Sure.
It's not like you have to make this new. You take your old stuff and you package
repurpose
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Repurpose it on the front end as the gift. So it's not like you need to go out and make a whole bunch of new courses or anything like that. It could be interviews. It could be, it could be just about anything. Cheat sheets, interviews, courses, all that stuff.
Right.
So that was the kind of the big thing they kept going back to over and over, and they talked about it in different ways. Is to make sure you have a MIFKI on all of your funnels.
Okay.
So that was the number one. And then I'm going to go. So it was interesting because at the event, it was not as much tactics as you might think.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the speakers that talked were talking a lot about mindset, and there were some tactics here and there, but a lot of them were talking about mindset, which was interesting because obviously as an entrepreneur, solopreneur, salesperson, you do have to have the mindset to succeed, or else you're not going to succeed, right?
Yeah.
And you'll just get caught up in the tactics because you won't have the mindset to push through it.
Right.
Which I know has happened to me from time to time. I'm sure I'm the only one.
Only one. Yep.
Only one.
No one else. You're probably the only one like that at that event.
Yeah, probably so. So Brendan Burchard, he was one of the speakers, and I thought he offered a kind of interesting insight. And he talked about how whenever there's a big change, whether it's in your industry or whether it's in the world, like we've had in the last 3 years, like where there's this big change, like we had in 2008, 2000,
Right.
like anytime there's these huge changes, the market breaks up into 3 different types of people. And I thought this was very interesting. So the first is people that are just clinging to security and they really want to just like keep things the way they are, or they want to go, they run to safety of whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
And that's actually, now in the beginning, it could be a lot more, but once you're kind of in it and starting to come out of it, there's still 15% of the market that's just never, they're just not going to move on with the new world and the new quote, new normal, those kind of things. They just get stuck.
Yep.
So that's 15% of the market approximately, that they're just going to cling to security and what they used to know, even though the world has changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a market,
people like that.
Yeah. And there's a market there that you can actually sell to those people. Like there's things you can sell to those people.
Yeah.
They tend to live in a place of complaint.
Yeah.
But
my father's very much like that. He refused to change with the times, and he still complains about technology and to this day. But yeah, you're right. There's a market of people like that.
Oh yeah.
That you can cater to.
Yeah, and if you sell them, stuff that helps them with security and keeps them feeling safe in the change, they'll absolutely line up and buy it.
Right. I mean, there's literally a group of people that refuse to ever own a smartphone, right?
Yeah.
But they do want to they want to own a phone. So what kind of market did that create? What was it, the jitterbug or whatever?
Jitterbug, yeah. And now there's another company now that's just come on recently that I've been seeing ads for that also kind of does the same thing. They have the flip phone, but they also have a smartphone, but it's a simplified smartphone.
Exactly.
And it kind of has life alert and stuff built into it and all these other senior type things. So that's 15% of the market. And then you can move on to phase 2. So these are people who are like, okay, the world has changed. It's stressing me out a little bit, but I know I'm going to adjust. I'm going to figure out how to adjust. So they're adapting, and they're looking for ways to adapt. They're looking to learn. They're looking to move forward. And that's about 65% of the audience. So lots of people in that world that if you can help them confidently try something new, something, that they're not used to, help them through the change. You could have a very good customer for a very long time.
Yeah.
Because you're going to help them through that big change. People that helped people through the housing crisis in whatever way, probably kept those people for a while. People that help people through the tech wreck, same thing, or help them through the implementation of just being online and all that stuff. So phase 2 or part 2 is 65% of the audience, and the final 20%. These are like phase 3 people. These are a lot of entrepreneurs. These are people who are going after progress. They're always looking for the next way to succeed, productivity, performance, all those kind of things. And those are the people where you get paid to push them even harder. Yeah. They're already pushing. They're already wanting to know the next thing. So if you want to market to these guys, you got to kind of stay out with them, ahead of them, and encourage them to keep going.
Right.
So all of it could be encouragement. You could be encouraging the first group that, hey, it's going to be okay. Don't worry. You don't have to be on this train. Here's some things you can do to keep things the way you like them. Then the next group is, hey, things are changing. Yeah, but that's all right. We're all going to change together. Let's go get this. Let's adopt to the new way of the worlds. And you can, and then you've got the 20%ers that are just going to, early adopters, those kind of people, right? Entrepreneurs, salespeople, all those. So I thought that was an interesting spread to think about, like as you're doing your message, because in any given industry, people are dealing with both industry things and just the general whatever's going on in the world.
Yep.
So that was Brendan's
That's
take.
very interesting. Yeah. Especially the breakdown. I find that interesting. About 65%, the middle,
Yeah.
is so large,
Yep.
Just those people that are but I would say, I guess I can buy into that. Most people are willing to adjust.
Yeah. Well, you almost have
as
to
needed. You have to.
Yeah.
And
especially if you're in the marketplace,
right.
you're still in your earning years. If you're a little bit towards retirement, like your dad, maybe you can put up a fight a little bit longer. You kind of set, you don't have to do those things. So, but yeah, if you're active in the world, you're going to have to adjust and adapt.
Yeah.
So you can make really good money helping people adapt. That could be through software, could be through courses, could be through, events, could be through anything. I mean, there's a lot of different tools people could use to adapt.
The majority of the money, though, I think is made in that 20%, probably. The higher margin, the more you
probably
can charge.
probably like the mastermind high ticket type stuff would be definitely in that world for sure.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that. So the next thing was from Perry Belcher, and I hadn't seen Perry in quite a while. I can't remember the last time I've actually seen him live. It's been a long time, but he's been doing a lot of cool stuff kind of behind the scenes. He worked a lot with Agora. He's done a lot of stuff. He runs a lot of other companies. And he had some pretty cool stuff to say.
Oh yeah.
Remember Perry?
Yeah. I think actually I might still be on his.
Yeah, he used to work a lot with Ryan Dice.
Yeah.
And they're still, I think, partners from what he said, but they run different businesses. So they don't, apparently they didn't work super well together, super close, but overall they're still friendly and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So the main thing that Perry talked about, and we've talked about this a little bit on the show before, because we've talked about a lot of things on the show. But one of the things he talked about was premiums. And I remember that, I started my copy career at Agora, and that's what we did for financial newsletters. We always sold, in quotes, the premium, the free gift, the free report about, the new oil discovery that could make you 10 times richer in 10 weeks or whatever,
Right.
And we'd give away a free report when you subscribe to the regular newsletter.
Right.
The oil newsletter or whatever it was.
Right.
So, and he's had some interesting things to say about that. He's like, those premiums tend to be wants, not needs.
Yeah.
The newsletter is probably what they need, but the premium is something that they want.
Yeah.
Right. And the example that both he and Russell used independently of each other was the football phone from Sports Illustrated. And they both they both had the video queued up and ready to go. Perry played his, and Russell came out and he's like, that was the same video I was going to play. So it's the old like, hey, get this football phone free when you subscribe to Sports Illustrated. Right. And they they've done all kinds of things since. But that little plastic football phone from China that probably cost 50 cents to make back in the 80s saved Sports Illustrated from going out of business.
Oh, absolutely.
And it helped them sell millions and millions of subscriptions. They still do it to this day. Like they give the pick your team fleece throw, that you can put over you while you're watching football in the winter.
Oh, absolutely.
All the team stuff they do a lot of team oriented stuff now, which is cool because it's even more unique of a gift,
right?
Depending on what you're a fan of,
right?
So I thought, that was a good example of a physical premium. And here's some other little gems. He said, he made this joke, and I thought it was the whole audience. Some people didn't get it right away. Some people did, but he said, a diamond engagement ring is actually a premium.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
And everybody chuckled kind of about just like that. They're like, oh yeah, I guess it is. That's uncomfortably true.
That's right. I'd be curious what the female, females laughed. In the audience,
they agreed. They were like, yeah, that sounds about right. Because you get the guy, right?
Right.
But the ring is a premium. Like that's
right.
part of the bonus package. So
That's
you
right.
definitely want that. I thought that was great.
Mhm.
He also said physical premiums tend to work really well
Mhm.
if you can pull it off and if you can get the right, mix. Jonathan, growing up in the 80s, you probably remember or at least your parents probably remember like the banks used to give like toasters and stuff
Oh yeah,
as a
absolutely.
premium for signing up for an account. You don't see
Mhm.
that anymore because nobody wants a toaster now. People want
Right.
cash back or
Mhm.
whatever. But yeah, the
Mhm.
savings and loan business back then they were all giving away toasters or steak knives or something like that
Sure. Yeah.
because your toaster was always nasty and you wanted a new one, and steak knives were always dull, so you always need a new set of steak knives.
Right.
Um, he also
No, that's
said, "Go ahead."
no. I was just gonna say, I mean, you're spot on because I mean, I think of like some of the courses or some of the things that I've ever like jumped on board, some of the membership courses or I think I'm thinking about golf in particular because those are some things that I've jumped on, and there's so many of them out there, and so you'll try one,
Yeah.
but it's always like you're absolutely right. I mean, some of them don't do this well, but some of them do offer um, a premium, like a training tool, right? I mean, one particular membership course that I did that I went through. It was a monthly membership, but one of the things they were giving away was a golf aid training, a trainer, right?
Mm-hmm.
They would send to you. I mean, it was just part of the deal as being a member of of this thing. And I was like, cool, man, I got to get that
Yeah.
because I think that'll help me,
Yeah. That
which,
was
it didn't, but I thought it would. And,
yeah.
anything you're looking for any little edge or anything that you think that will help, you know, with your improvement, you're thinking, you go to Dick's or you go to Amazon and this little golf training tool, is probably 15 to 20 bucks.
Yeah.
If not less. And they're probably, it's nothing for them to
Oh
throw
yeah,
that
their
in
actual
there.
hard cost is
Yeah,
probably next to
exactly.
nothing. Here's
Nothing.
how.
So,
So here's how you know when your premium is a good premium. People want the premium
mhm,
for the free gift more than they want the actual thing.
sure. Right.
That's when you know you've got a winner. And
Yep.
we did that all the time at Agora. The free reports was what everybody wanted. When they would call into customer service, they would never mention the newsletter. They would always mention the free report.
The free reports. Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, you get that free when you join,
Mhm.
whatever newsletter. They're like, fine. Yeah, that's fine. Just
Just
send me
throw
the
it in there.
report.
I'll just cancel. Yeah,
I just
right.
cancel.
Yeah.
And they don't,
Yeah, I'll
or
forget.
at least not for a while. So yeah, your premium needs to be as good or better than the
Yeah.
actual thing
No,
you're selling for sure.
mhm,
This was really fascinating. We've talked about this. We like print stuff.
mhm,
Well, and a lot of this whole Funnel Hacking Live talked a lot about subscriptions and memberships and having that continuity type
mhm.
business. One of the quotes from the thing was, without recurring revenue, you don't have a business.
Right.
So a lot of this stuff applies to um, continuity type programs. So one thing that happens is if you send a print newsletter to anyone who's on a membership, it
Mhm.
increases retention by 2.6 times.
Wow.
So not just 2.6 months, but 2.6 times. So
Mhm.
instead of it being, say, 4 months, it's almost a year
Yeah.
just by adding a print something to your thing.
Sure.
And you
Right.
and I both know that. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot about this. And
Yeah.
some people play the game. They're like, oh, I'm not going to send them an invoice. I'm not going to send them anything. I'm just going to get their credit card, never talk to them again.
Right.
Don't send them emails. I don't want to remind them. That used to be kind of the old school way. You never reminded people that they had the subscription, and then you just kind of see how long they would hold it.
Right.
I think a better, more ethical way to do it is to remind them every month of how great your stuff is and why
Absolutely.
they should
Yeah.
keep using it.
Right.
So yeah, 2.6 times retention by using a print newsletter.
Wow.
And then this is another good stat. And Perry runs dozens of businesses with, I think he said they've done 3. He said in his career, he's created 900 million in revenue and 3 million individual sales,
Mhm.
which is a lot. So
Yeah.
across different types of businesses. And one thing he said is a person who spends $1 is worth 20 free leads. So a person who spends $1 is worth 20 opt-ins, basically. So what he does a lot of times is, if you've ever seen Perry Belcher's ads, if you were in the copywriting or marketing world, you might see his ads. But he'll do these. Right now he has these laminated kind of cheat sheets for how to write your copy, like just little prompts and stuff. But they're laminated, and he sends them to you physically, and you pay like $7 or $9 or whatever it is for them.
Sure. Right.
So he's getting $1 from you when you sign up. $9, whatever. Because he knows a buying customer is worth way more than a freebie seeking customer.
Right. Absolutely.
So he makes sure that, and by making them physical, people are more likely to buy it than if it was just a PDF.
Right.
Like a PDF at this point feels like it should be free.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's laminated, you mail it to me, for some reason now it's worth, a lot, $7 or $9 or $29 or whatever you want to charge for it. Yep. So, but he tends to do those as kind of lower ticket items. So that's Perry Belcher.
Cool stuff there? No, that's, I can see that, we've talked about that, just the desire to get something physical nowadays, and super cheap on his cost too, but laminated, even better, because you've got something that is kind of a cheat sheet that you can refer back to. It's like a little
stays on your
reference
desk.
guide. Yep.
It's like a lot of corporate companies, they give you little trinkets that stay on your desk with their logo on it.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same idea, but it's more useful than a stress ball or pen or whatever.
Right.
All right. So the next person that I had to look a few notes for was Marie Forleo. So she's more of a, she's a business coach. She's got her B school. She's one of the top in, personal development / business people on the internet for sure. So she was there. She did a good talk. Hers was definitely more personal development related, but I thought there was a couple of nice, cool things she said. Just some stats that jumped out at me. Number one was the average person born today will spend, I'll make this a quiz. How many years do you think the average person born today will spend staring at a screen by the time they die?
44.
Oh yeah, I gave you the notes. Ding, ding, ding. Very good.
Really amazing though. I'm looking at that number. That's
like mind-boggling, isn't it?
It
is. When she said that, I was like, "What? That can't be right." And then I started thinking about it. I was like, "Yeah, that's probably right."
Years.
If I live to be, if somebody born today is probably going to live 95 or 100. And if you count phone screens, watch screens, TV screens, whatever, it starts adding up.
Yeah.
So her talk was a lot about time and managing your time, and she calls it being a time genius, versus having time stress. And she's even got a quiz. I think it's timestress.com or something like that, or timestressquiz.com. And one of the things she said, she's like, people ask me all the time, because she's got podcasts and shows and courses and events and all this stuff. And they're like, how do you get it all done? She's like, I don't. That's just the bottom line. She's like, I don't.
Right.
And you have to be willing to not be able to get it all done, or else her point was she got very sick. Because she was just always going, and now she's kind of pulled back some of that.
Right.
And then the other thing was, she had this phrase that she came up with called, it's, I don't do blank. So I don't do stress. I don't do overwhelm. I don't do, so instead of saying, I can't find the time, or I can't, whatever, you kind of turn it around and you say, I don't do overwhelm, or I don't do lack, or I don't do stress about taxes, like whatever your thing is that really kind of gets you balled up. If you say, I don't do blank, as opposed to saying this, frustrates me, or I can't do this, or whatever, it's 8 times more effective to your brain to say, I don't do blank, than it is any other kind of formula that you might have
Sure.
around that.
Right.
And I found that to be true too. Like one
Because
of
you have a
mine,
choice ultimately. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, you're
So
telling yourself you have that choice of like, okay,
yeah,
I don't have to, I don't have to deal with this. Right.
yeah.
I mean,
So for me, one of my core I don't do's that I've used that exact phrase is I don't do sickness.
hmm
Like I
yeah.
just don't get sick. Like that's just
hmm
not an option. I don't do it. It's not
hmm
for me.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I rarely get sick. And when I do, it's usually over in less than 24 hours.
Absolutely. Right.
So um so taking whatever is like your biggest problem and then turning that around and just declaring, hey, I
hmm
don't do X anymore. I
Right.
don't do arguing. I don't
Right.
do whatever it might be that's kind of holding you back. I thought that was a great, just very simple. Again, that's it's kind of a self persuasion is how I'd put it on
hmm
this show.
No, that's good. Good self-talk.
Um, Ed Milet, have you ever heard of? Do you follow Ed Milet?
No, I do not.
I don't either. I hadn't. Um,
Never heard of the guy.
yeah. So apparently he's a big speaker. He does a lot of talks. He's got a couple books. He was I forgot where he made his money.
hmm
I think it was I'm thinking insurance, but I could be wrong on that.
hmm
Um,
Yeah,
can't
I
remember
don't
what it is,
know.
but now he's more of
Uh,
a pretty much motivational speaker person. That's pretty much what he
mhm.
does full time now.
Yeah.
So his talk was really good, very emotional. Which, by the way, I'll say something about that at the here at the
Yeah.
end.
Right.
So this I think was probably some of the best sales advice I've heard. The way he said this just really hit with a lot of people in the audience. Like there's a
Yeah.
lot of head shaking and things like that. And this is really good for persuasion
hmm
and sales, relationships, whatever. He said, I don't need to get people to believe what I believe. I
Yeah.
do need them to believe that I believe what I believe.
Right.
And that's a huge difference. Like
Oh yeah.
the
hmm
battle of trying to get someone to believe what you believe is hard. It
Yeah.
can be very difficult.
Yep.
Unless you happen to be in the right niche with the right group or whatever, right?
hmm
But you can take anybody, even if they're not on your side, and get them to believe that you believe what you
hmm
believe. And
Yeah.
that confidence can inspire them to do business with you or whatever. So, Jonathan, when you go into people's offices or boardrooms or things like that, I mean, that's really what you're doing. It's like you don't necessarily need them to believe that your product or service is better,
Right.
but you do need to walk out of the room with them believing that you believe it's the best thing out there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's what's contagious.
Yeah. It's a transfer of emotion. And
Yes.
if you're not bought into what you do and how you can help, and you feel
Yes.
like if you're in, especially in commodities type, any type of commodities, I don't know how you get up for stuff like that.
Yeah.
If you truly don't believe in the value that you create every day for your clients, then it's a bad place to be. I mean,
Yeah.
they'll see right through you because you don't believe in it.
Yeah.
So you have to have some kind of belief in the value that you're providing
Yeah.
ultimately.
Yeah. And it's funny you said transfer enthusiasm. That was the exact quote that I thought of. It's the transfer of enthusiasm from, I think, um,
Yeah.
Zig Ziglar is the one that said that.
Yeah. I mean, think about any time you've ever recommended, like you've seen this really good movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, Top Gun. I don't know how many people I told,
Yeah.
Maverick was just like the greatest movie ever, and
Yeah.
it was really a transfer of emotion. They could sense, they believed it. I went to see the
Right.
movie 3 times. I don't have to convince you if I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I rarely go to see a movie more than once. And I went
Yeah.
to see that 3 times. So that in and of itself will tell you right there. That'll convince you. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey man,
It's like, wow, this guy really
that's enough.
believes, like, this guy really
I
likes
believe,
it. Like, I'm sold.
I
You
believe
believe
you,
it. Yeah. I don't know if I believe it yet. I don't know if I believe it's the best movie,
but I
but
know
if I
you do.
listen to you, yeah, I know you do. So based on that, I'm going to give it a
Yeah,
shot.
sure. Right.
And then
Yep.
and so I think that's a really good distinction
hmm
because I think so often in marketing, we try to get people to believe the same thing we believe.
Yeah.
And you don't have
Absolutely.
to. You
Right.
just need to get them to believe that you believe what you believe.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then so even if they still have doubt and skepticism, they may give it a try because of your level of belief.
And
Then
persuasion,
they can
there's an
consider.
area of persuasion that we're always attracted to a true believer out there. You know, we've
Yes.
referenced that book, True Believer, in the past.
Mhm.
People are naturally attracted and persuaded by people who really have bought in. And that's why some cults are so successful. I mean,
Yes.
you know, unfortunately, you know, that's just the reality of why cults work and
Yes.
why so many people buy into them is because ultimately the guy at the top is a believer and they believe in him because
Mhm.
he is a believer and has convinced them, not because he wants them to believe, but he believes, you know.
Yeah.
And so they love the enthusiasm and they love to think I'm really attracted to this person who really believes in something that I want to believe in or possibly believe in, but I'm not sure yet, but I'm attracted to that.
Right. And I think people they want that for themselves, that
Sure.
certainty. And they're
Yeah.
like, ooh, if he's that
Yep.
certain about that,
Hmm.
then maybe if I try it, I could be that
Yeah.
certain about something in my life.
Right.
And I think
Hmm.
that's very attractive to people, like you said.
Absolutely.
Um, so yeah, that's good. Um, so the last thing I was going to say, I didn't put this on your notes, but
Yeah.
it was interesting. It was kind of a post training with Russell that I was attending, kind of after you came back from funnel
Hmm.
hacking. Um, and one of the things he talked about is like the way they structured the entire event, and we may get into this a little bit longer and another episode. But one of the things when they structure the event, everything is planned out.
Oh, I'm sure.
The
Right.
timing, who speaks when, and what's interesting is Russell did a pitch. He offered one product at the whole event. Nobody else pitched. It's just Russell pitched. Um, and he did the main pitch, and then he did a follow up to that pitch with the same exact offer, but he just did it in a different way. But
Hmm.
each time before he was scheduled to do that, he made sure that the presenter that went on right before him was a very emotional presenter to get people in
Ah,
an emotional, fired up,
yeah.
excited state.
Sure.
Um, you know, maybe some tears,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
just these huge emotion swings, so that when Russell came out and made this offer, you're like, oh my god, I want that.
Oh, he
And
was anchoring, right? I mean,
oh yeah,
I mean, he had some anchoring going there for sure.
absolutely. And out of a room of 5,000 people, last I heard, they sold 800 um, spots into their next level coaching, which
Hmm.
is I think it's 25,000 a year if you paid up front, and then
Yeah.
30 if you made payments, 2,500 a month for 12
Right.
months, and
Right.
800. So that's almost 20% of the room. So that's 17% of the room. So 800 people times, most people did payments.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Of course.
So if you do, I didn't do the math ahead of time, but let's see what that is. So if you do 800 times 30,000, it's a $24 million
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
presentation. Um,
Yeah. That's
so the event they basically broke even on, but this was the
yeah.
back end
The
offer for
back
the
end.
event,
Right.
and it's $24 million. Not everybody will go and make it all the way through the year and
Sure.
all that kind of
Sure.
stuff, but if they ended up with 50% of that, it's a
Hmm.
pretty good
No, it's
week,
great. Yeah.
for a lot of
Absolutely.
companies. So
Right.
that was interesting, and Russell's kind of, that's one thing I like about the way he kind of does things. He pulls back the curtain on kind of what they're doing and why they're doing it, because he does have a community of marketers who want to know
Yeah.
like what's going on, why did that work, all these kind of things. So, and
Hmm.
it's funny, even though people know that's exactly what's going on, they still line up and buy because
Sure.
this stuff just works on
Oh, it
people.
does. It
So,
does. Yeah. That's
um,
fascinating. Wow.
yeah, so that was pretty cool. So yeah, it'll be interesting. They're doing a big launch now for ClickFunnels 2.0, which is the new version of the software.
Hmm.
So if you're not watching ClickFunnels, you should definitely check
Hmm.
them out and start watching what they're doing. Um, they're great marketers. It's one of the reasons they're one of the fastest growing and most profitable software companies out there.
Right.
So, yeah, really good stuff. Yeah, that's all I got, man. That was the
good stuff.
event.
So how do they know they had 800 to? I mean, how did they tell everybody that?
Yeah, they told everybody later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, because part of his, so the second time he did the first time he did the presentation, I think that he said they had like 400 people sign up. So what he did the next day, they had he did a follow-up presentation. He just said, "Hey, I made an offer yesterday. About 400 of you took us up on that offer. You went to the back, you got your stuff. You're all in, you're a super emotional buyer, and you just went back and bought." He said, "However, I know that there's another half of you that are very logical buyers. And then there's, a part of those are also are time sensitive buyers and won't do anything unless I force you to do it. So I'm about to do a presentation where I'm going to talk to the logical buyers and the people who are waiting to the last minute."
Right.
And I loved how he just laid it out there like that. And he's like, "So let's go through the logical stuff." And he went through like, okay, let's say this was $2,500 a month and you wanted to pay for that, you would only need this many members at this much.
Right.
Surely you could find that many members in the first 30 to 60 days.
Sure.
Right. And so he went through the math and, made sense. And he said, "Okay, now for you people who wait till the last minute, I'm putting a clock up because we're going to have a welcome lunch after the next speaker.
Right.
We've got to tell the hotel how many meals to have ready."
Yeah.
So there's a real reason why.
A real reason. Not some made up.
Yeah. We've got a room over there. The tables are set. We just need to know how many meals to prepare. And you've got to have so we're going to take a 30-minute break before the next speaker. And at the end of that 30 minutes, you have to have your application and your credit card number in so that we can let the kitchen know how many people.
Yeah.
And sure enough, man, they put the timer up, they took a break, and people went to the back and started signing up.
That's great.
So
just goes to show the the power. Going back to that, one of the most powerful words in the English language is the because, and you give people a reason why, a legitimate reason why.
I mean, how do you argue with that? You're like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. You got to have
it does make sense. Yeah,
I'll go ahead and pay you $30,000 so I can get my $2 meal.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yep, absolutely.
Like it's a rational reason that makes no rational sense.
Exactly. It goes back to Chidini. You don't even have to have a good reason why you're cutting to the front of the line. You just as long as you have a because.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and so if you were there's kind of two streams going on for me, probably for a lot of the guys, marketers there.
Yeah,
and that is one like just listening. And the other two is like watching what they were doing and how they were doing it.
Yeah.
And if you do both, there was a lot of stuff to pick up. And I'm really glad I went and excited about all the stuff they're doing in the future and what they're doing with ClickFunnels 2.0. And I think I'm definitely I'm in the cult now.
Oh yeah.
They got me. So I'm in the cult
you're
as far
hooked.
as that goes. So
but good stuff. Good takeaways.
That's all I got. Like I said, there'll be some things that we can dive into a little bit later on other episodes once I get the official notes.
Yeah.
Which should be any moment now. They should be delivered to my inbox. But
okay, good.
I'll let you know.
We'll dive into some of that. I'd love to hit maybe next week if you get the notes. I'd love to dig in a little on the anchoring and the framing effect on some of these.
Yeah,
and just because nothing is by chance or haphazard. Everything is thought with precision. Yes. And you're absolutely right. Everything is thought in such a way that you're anchored and it's a framing effect to get you ready to buy.
Yeah. I mean, this was not just,
they spent credit card.
They spent $5 million to produce this event. And it's not just to make everybody feel good.
Right.
Which it does. I mean, that alone makes the stick rate go up on all those 5,000 people and all those things. But, everything from having a swag store to handing out T-shirts, when you get there. So all the ideas of a cult, we'll have to review it through that lens as well. Because they did all the main things a good cult does.
Yeah.
Isolation, repetition, all the, dressing alike, like all the
Yeah.
things were done. So
Yeah. Yep.
interesting to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
Did
Man, that's
your
good stuff.
did your beer get any better?
Not really, but that's okay.
Oh, well,
It's okay.
thought I'd ask.
No, it's staying the same, but
Wow, I get it.
it's
All right.
good. Well, good, cool. I know you've got a jet. You got to pick
Yeah.
up buddy from the airport, so it's good, man. Good weekend coming up. We got some good college games coming up, and then also I'm
Playoffs.
excited, man.
MLB playoffs.
My Braves are in
Yes.
the playoffs. Your Braves
Yes.
are in the playoffs.
Yes.
It's all good. I got it
Tamer's
going
actually
all the way again.
downstairs. Yeah, Tamer's actually downstairs watching the Phillies wild card game. So
Oh yeah, that's right. The Sillies are on.
yeah, the
I call it
wild
the
card.
Sillies.
Yeah, the wild card game are on
Yeah.
this weekend, and I think the
That's
good
right.
stuff starts next week. So
That's right. That's right.
all right,
Should be a fun October and November. So
absolutely.
but with that said, hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. We'll see you next time. Persuasionbythepike.com. You can find us on all of your podcast platforms. And Sean, we're up to scroll up real quick. We're up to, this is episode 270. We're close to 280. So we're getting
there.
Yeah, we're getting close. And
Yeah.
I would say that by the end of the year, we'll be hitting that 300 mark. So
Yeah, we need to get some repeat guests. I sent an email to Bill Mueller. He launched a new course, so I sent him an email saying he should come back on the show to talk about his new stuff.
I want to see that because I was all in on his last stuff. So love to see that.
So,
all right. Well, listen, have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
Is the Bill? What's the Bill